Hello friends, welcome back to the frozen wasteland that is my driveway. It's a crispy fresh -19 this morning. So I thought, what a perfect opportunity to talk to you all about what it's like to come here in a van, in a camper van, and the things that you absolutely need to know before taking on an adventure like this, because it is an adventure. This isn't just popping over the channel to France and having a jolly for a month or two in the sun. Scandinavia in the winter is absolutely incredible, as you can see, but it is also extremely dangerous if you don't take a few basic steps to prepare your van for it. You could very easily get stranded here, and when the temperatures are -30, -40, which is not uncommon, in fact it's pretty much guaranteed, you could get yourself in a real pickle. A little bit of backstory for anyone that's new. This thing hiding under the tarp is my old house. I lived in this for quite a few years, driving all over the place, all around Europe, and just having a damn good time. 2 years ago decided to come to Sweden, did some travelling around here, and then because we liked it so much we decided to get some land here, and we're still here 2 years later. So we've experienced travelling around in the winter in a van, obviously living in that full time. We've experienced living stationary in a van, which is a whole different ball game. And now, you know, we have different vehicles, we have a house. It's completely different again. But I can honestly say Scandinavia for me is the ultimate destination for being in a van. If you like the wilderness, if you like nature, peace and quiet, you know, amazing landscapes, this is the place to be. But there's a few things you should know before trying to tackle this beast in the middle of winter. So let's go over them quickly now. So this isn't going to be a complete A to B list of everything you should bring, because realistically, if you're going to come here, you probably want to have a certain amount of common sense. I'll just put that out there now. But I'm just going to run through a few things that I've learnt over the years that will make your life a hell of a lot easier. So the first thing that isn't van related is clothing, which again is common sense. But what I will say on clothing is whatever you think is the thickest thing you should be bringing with you, double it, and you should be about there. This isn't my thickest coat. When it gets really cold, I've got another one that goes on. I look like a marshmallow, but that's what you need. If you're going to be in these temperatures, you need the proper clothing. Otherwise, you're going to have a very bad time. But if you're nice and warm and you're protecting yourself, then you can enjoy it. Right, let's get on to the van stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about is heating. It's pretty important. You've not really got much chance if you don't have some kind of heating. I don't care how hardcore you claim to be. Anyone can survive a night, but weeks, months on end with no heating in this, it's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest. So a diesel heater is sufficient. A Chinese diesel heater, as long as your van's insulated well, you'll be fine. It doesn't have to be Chinese. If you want to pay 700-800 quid for a herbospatter or whatever, feel free. But I like the Chinese ones. This is the fuel tank for mine. I've got a video showing putting the diesel heater in and stuff, but they are sufficient. That's why I've got one in this van. However, what I will say is, if you're obviously living in your van and you're going to be up here for the whole winter or a good chunk of it, I wouldn't do that personally without a wood burner. That's what I had in my other van. I can honestly say, without my wood burner, we wouldn't have made it through the first winter here. Absolutely no chance if we just had the diesel heater. The thing with a wood fire is, no matter what happens, what situation you get yourself into, the van breaks down, your power system breaks down, you're always going to have a way to keep yourself warm. You can always get wood. So if I was to go off for a long time, I wouldn't do it without a wood burner. The only reason I've just gone with a diesel heater in this is because I'm only going to be doing small trips, week or two here and there. Any longer than that, in my opinion, you can't beat a wood burner. While we're on the subject of heating, you're also going to need to heat your engine, if I can get into it. I hate the design of the bonnet on these. It always drops down behind this front grille. And if you've got gloves on, Can't get into it. Where's the thing? Oh, there it is. Excuse the cable mess, I'm still to tidy this up, but this gadget here is an engine preheater. If you've not seen one before, this works the same as the diesel heater we just talked about in the back. It runs off 12 volts and is fired by diesel. However, instead of heating air, this heats coolant, pumps it round these pipes before you start the engine and circulates hot coolant around and preheats the block. There's different versions of these. I think these are the best, the ones that are powered by the van itself. You can also get mains powered ones that can go either into the frost plug of the engine, or you can tap into a coolant line, which is what I've got on the tractor. They also work very well, but obviously you need 240 volts to power them. Pretty much every car in this country has a heater like that that's powered off the mains, and people just plug them into the house, and that's how people get by. But if you're, living in a van, you're off grid, it's better to have one that's 12 volts and can be powered directly off the van. But without one of these, the chances of your van starting is, some will start, mine wouldn't, the Iveco, anything below sort of -10, and it just gave up, no way. Granted, the starter battery was kind of weak, but regardless of whether it will start or not, it's whether you should start it, because cold starting a diesel engine or petrol in like -20, -30 is an extremely bad idea. You'd probably do less damage if you tipped a can of nuts and bolts into the cylinders and fired that up. So I would say a preheater is definitely an essential that you're going to want. If anything, to be honest, which is what I plan on doing with this, I'm also going to put a mains one on here and have a small generator or something, one of the little tiny suitcase ones, just as an emergency backup in case this fails. You know how I'm all about my backups, but peace of mind, isn't it? So the next thing we're going to touch on, which, to be honest, is the most important thing out of everything we're going to talk about today, is these tyres. I'm showing you on this because it's easier to get to than my van, but I'm no expert. I'm not a tyre manufacturer. I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to gain anything here. This is just my honest opinion from my experience, and also living here, seeing what the locals use and hearing, what they think, their opinions. And I think that anyone who decides to come here in the winter and doesn't run a set of studded tyres is a fool, to be honest. There's no other word for it. You're just a fool, because it's playing a game of chance. Your tyres can be fine for 99 out of 100 drives, but on that one drive you're going to slide off a mountain, or worse, slide into someone else. It just isn't worth it. For those that don't know what I'm on about, proper winter studded tyres are exactly what they sound like. They have loads of these little metal spikes in the tyres. They're not very big, but it's not just those. The tyres themselves are also rated for this climate. The rubber, you can see it's almost -20 out here, and this rubber is still incredibly soft. The compound is different to winter tyres, from other countries. When we first came here, both of our vans had mud and snow rated tyres, which we'd used in the French Alps. I had my van in Chamonix in mental snow, and they were fine, they were brilliant. But the difference there is, number one, the roads they're kept clear because they're salted. They are, 9 times out of 10 when you drive, you're on bare tarmac because it's all been cleared. But trying to use them here was like driving on glass. There's just no grip whatsoever. So we've experienced 3.5 tons sliding around uncontrollably. And I can tell you right now, it's not pleasant. But there's a reason why you don't see anybody here running, you know, normal winter tyres or all-terrains or snow tyres, whatever. Every single car you come across in this country, at least up here anyway, uses studded tyres. The main sort of coastal roads and the main highways, if you like, I think they are salted, but they're also extremely well scraped. But as soon as you come out a little bit and you come onto the more country roads, the equivalent of, say, an A road in the UK, you're suddenly rolling the dice on what the conditions are going to be. You could have snow like this, you could have hard packed snow, you could have ice, you could have bare tarmac, you just don't know. But that is the point of these tyres, is that they work in every condition, whether it's ice, whether it's slush, it doesn't matter. The proper, like, Nordic rated winter tyres, you can't beat them. And the thing is, they're expensive. A full set, you know, you're probably going to pay 500 quid for 4, maybe more. But at the end of the day, it's going back to the beginning. Like, if you're coming somewhere like this for winter, it's a big deal. You're not sort of coming here for a quick jolly. It's like people climbing Mount Everest. You're not going to see them going up there in a tracksuit. You know, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of preparation needed, and it is going to cost a few quid. You know, it just is. Oh, here comes the snow. Brilliant. There's a good service in these countries called Tyre Hotel, which is basically as it sounds. You can say, if you were to come in at the bottom of Sweden, you could get a set of studded tyres fitted, and they'll keep your other tyres in the Tyre Hotel. Obviously it costs a bit of money to do. It's not horrendous, but then you can go off and explore and do what you got to do, and then when you want to leave, you go back there and they'll swap your tyres over again. Because obviously studded tyres are illegal in the rest of Europe, you can only use them in Scandinavia. So it is quite an investment, but again, you know, it's no different to spending £1,000 on a new lithium battery or something for your van. Like, it's an investment if you want to explore in the winter. Say if you plan to come here, you know, every winter, then it'd be great, because you could leave your studded tyres in the Tyre Hotel, go home, and then when you come back they'll be there waiting for you, and you just get them swapped over. These things last bloody ages. You know, they don't wear down too fast as long as you don't drive on too much bare tarmac with them. But I can't stress enough just how important tyres are. Like, other tyres will work, you know, it's not undrivable everywhere you go. But the question you've got to ask yourself is it worth it? For the sake of, say, 500-600 quid, you're essentially rolling the dice every time you drive, because you can't predict the conditions. It's impossible. Just to give you a bit of context on that, it's almost January, and obviously right now it's like -19. By late this afternoon it's going to be +1. You know, the temperature swings here are so unpredictable sometimes, and what that's going to mean is ice and slop and dangerous conditions, and then it's going to freeze again, which will make it even worse. It just isn't worth risking everything, risking your van, potentially your home if you live in it, risking other people's lives, risking your own life. It isn't worth it. Get the right tyres. Unfortunately, the wireless mic's just died. Electronics don't last very long in this cold, so sorry if the audio's changed. But that does lead me on nicely to the next point, which is power. Now, I'm only going to touch on this briefly because there's not really a right or wrong answer in terms of batteries and things. I do actually plan on making a battery video quite soon, which I think you'll find interesting, so keep an eye out for that. But one thing I will say is, so you can probably see here, I've got a couple of solar panels. Just forget about them during the winter here. There's no sun, so solar is not an option. It starts to come back in sort of mid-January, mid to late January. We start getting the first bits of sun here. But if you go even further north, there's no sunlight whatsoever for a little while. In other words, you need a different way to charge. The best way, obviously, is some kind of a battery-to-battery charger. So when you drive in, that sends the power into the back, or wherever your leisure batteries are, and charges them while the engine's running. That's the best way to do it. I would probably argue that, again, as a backup, a mains charger with a small generator would not be a bad idea. If you ever have issue with the van not starting, you're still going to want to be able to get power to get you by for your heating and whatever else. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a hookup with a little portable generator. But yeah, solar is a write-off. And finally, the last thing we're going to touch on is auxiliary lighting. Now, you can see on my van there's quite a bit, and some of you might think that it's a little bit pointless, a little bit over the top, but genuinely I would argue that this is almost as important as having the right tyres, because where we are right now we get about 5 hours of decent daylight per day. That's a lot of darkness. My god, here we go. A lot of time in the dark. You're going to be driving in the dark, you know, you just are. And not only do you need to be able to see where you're going, you also need to be able to see if any wildlife is coming out into the road well in advance. You know, because of the conditions, stopping distances are obviously a lot greater than if it was summer. And if a moose jumps out in the road and you're doing 80, you want to be seeing that moose as far away as possible. Even just something like a light bar will help massively. Personally, spotlights are the way forward, because you get a piercing beam that goes miles down the road. But definitely extra lighting is up there. Regular headlights, just, they're not good enough. On full beam, you're not going to see far enough, especially with older vans. You know, on a brand new modern car maybe they're better, but stuff like this, the headlights on this are terrible. I wouldn't enjoy driving a car here in the winter without extra lighting. And I would also recommend that you get some amber covers for them, or lights that are amber anyway, because if you just have white lights, especially that setup right there on the roof with a light bar, is about as bad as it can get. When there's a blizzard, if you're driving in a blizzard, the white light reflects on the snow and you're blind basically. You have to slow right down. It's horrendous. So the yellow lights or the amber lights cut through that a lot better. Same in fog as well. Any kind of bad driving conditions, rain, these just work a lot better. And that's about it really. I mean, obviously there's a lot more I could talk about, you know, tips and things that I've learned, but they're the sort of fundamental things that you need to know, that you really must do. The only thing that's a legal requirement is proper winter rated tyres. I think they have to have, is it the 3 Peak logo or something? I'm sure someone in the comments can confirm that, but it is the law to have winter rated tyres. It's not the law to have studded tyres, but I would definitely recommend that you get studded tyres. I can't even begin to explain the difference driving with studs versus driving with normal tyres. It's like the car is on rails, honestly. You've got to experience it. But I hope you found this helpful. What sort of spurred me on to make this video is recently I've been seeing a lot of bad information about this place popping up in comments, and just people giving generally bad advice. So at the end of the day, you know, we live here, we've got a pretty good experience of the place. This is our 3rd winter now, so we've kind of learnt how things work, and I hope that anyone who is considering driving the van up to here comes across this video and, you know, gets thinking about the things that they're going to need to do. But yeah, that's the lot for today, so thank you all for watching. I'll see you on the next one.